Good evening, viewers. It is great to have you back this Friday night. I know every single one of us is doing our own bit now to ensure that we as a nation are able to contain coronavirus. The virus contamination scare seems to be slowly now reaching even our parliament. Now, this is how it begins. You might remember Kanika Kapoor from her songs Baby Doll and Chittiya Kalaiya. She has now been tested positive for coronavirus. Now, she returned from London earlier this month, and while she claims she cleared the testing and screening and wasn't given any kind of advisories from the authorities, it seems she lives in a completely different world where she doesn't know what's happening across the world and in our own country. Kanika Kapoor actually then went on to socialize very heavily in Lucknow and party not once or twice, but at least 3 times within a week. And now that she has been tested positive, officials have gone on a hunt to find out her contamination trail. Now, this list of those who may have been exposed and definitely need to be in quarantine and isolation has many A-listers, including names of members of parliament, top babus, ministers, former chief minister. She reportedly attended 3 birthday parties. In one of them, and that's the picture on your screens right now, she came in contact with former Rajasthan Chief Minister Vasundhara Raje. In the same picture, you can see Raje's son, Dushyanth Singh, who is now an MP himself. He went on to then meet several other politicians in the last few days. She then attended a Holi gathering and an event where she celebrated Holi in Lucknow. Supposedly and reportedly came in contact with about 400 people here who will now have to get themselves tested, and they will have to stay in isolation. Now, so these are the people who've already now announced that we are in self-isolation because we met her and we partied with her. Dushyanth Singh, Vasundhara Raje, former Chief Minister of Rajasthan, Jai Pratap Singh, he is the Uttar Pradesh Health Minister who was socializing and attending these events. Derek O'Brien, TMC MP, who says he met Dushyanth Singh and spent a couple of hours with him, and so now he has to go in isolation, extremely angry with the way this has worked out. Obviously, let's listen to what Derek O'Brien said.
That one Lok Sabha MP, Dushyanth, he's also gone into self-isolation. Now, I was sitting next to him day before yesterday for 2.5 hours during a transport parliamentary standing committee meeting.
Not just these MPs and ministers, there are many other parliamentarians who were at this event, a breakfast that was held at the Rashtrapati Bhavan just 2 days ago. Rashtrapati Bhavan itself had tweeted out pictures of that event, and Dushyanth Singh was present here. Now, the Rashtrapati Bhavan sources have told your channel that the president himself did not come in close contact with the MPs. There was no physical contact with these MPs. There was a significant amount of distance maintained, but the pictures you can see that they all posed and greeted each other. The Rashtrapati Bhavan officials are showing abundant caution right now and seeking medical advice on what has to be done. Now, as this Kanika Corona chaos really unfolds and more netas and top bureaucrats and even officials at Rashtrapati Bhavan get dragged in, we spoke to the singer herself. This is what she told us.
News doing the rounds that you tried to, dodge the airport officials. Would you want to clarify on that?
No, it's all. That is the only reason I'm happy to talk, because that's all rubbish.
Right. And so can you tell us exactly what happened? How did you sort of...
I was in London for almost 2 weeks. I go to London because I live between London and Lucknow. My children study in London. I'm a single mother. So I was there with them. And after that, I came back to Bombay on the 9th of March.
Right.
When there were not such big announcements made at that time.
Right.
On the 9th of March, there were none of these big announcements made nationally.
Right.
9th of March, I came in through Bombay. I came on transit to Lucknow.
Right.
At Bombay airport, when I landed, we were all screened properly. The medical people there spoke to us. They screened us. We filled in the form. They questioned us, and they let us go home. And they did not say to us that we need to be in quarantine or we need to do anything any other way.
Okay. Ma'am, you were not aware.
And then I came back home. Then I came back home to Lucknow to my parents.
Okay. Okay. Ma'am.
That is.
Okay. Ma'am, were you not aware that you were supposed to self-quarantine yourself because you just come back from a foreign, destination?
On the 9th of March, I was not told by anybody that I have to self-quarantine myself if I've come back from London. On the 9th of March, I was not told anything.
Ma'am, is it
and
true?
If I was told, I'm somebody who really lives by the book. I would have not gone against any rules or broken any rules.
Ma'am, is it true that you hosted a party for friends and family at a hotel in Lucknow while keeping in mind
Not
that
at all. Absolutely not. In fact, I clarified that one of my childhood friends, there was a family get-together on the 13th of March in their house where me, my parents, we all were there. It was a small get-together for his birthday, for a cake cutting.
Okay.
There was no event. There was nothing massive hosted by anybody. Anything that was going to happen with anybody, all our events, everything has been cancelled.
Okay. Ma'am, there's reports that a member of parliament who was there in the party, we're not taking his name, was also there in the party. He's also gone in for test. Was it, did you have friends and, bureaucrats and politicians also at the party?
Yes, we have family friends and family members who work for the government of India and are bureaucrats. So a few of them who are family members were also present there.
Okay. Ma'am, lastly, you've said that you're a law-abiding person, but do you regret some of the decisions that, you could have probably taken some steps, self-quarantined yourself and probably avoided, having a party at home? Do you sort of regret it now?
I did not, sir, I'm repeating myself. I did not have a party at home.
Okay. You attended one?
I attended, like my other family members,
right.
We attended a small family dinner.
Okay. Okay. And ma'am, what is the latest on...
And that was last week when there was not so much. And the moment things were announced, none of the family members have also met.
Okay. And ma'am, what are the authorities saying? There's obviously going to be a step of, retracing all your steps and probably getting in touch with the people that you've sort of had contact with.
Anyone and everyone that I have been in contact with since I have come to India, I have informed the main doctor who is responsible for this first thing in the morning, and I have informed everybody myself to be in quarantine and to go and test.
Right, ma'am. And ma'am, finally, anything that you'd want to say to sort of, there are a lot of news going around. So anything that you'd want to say on your part, which we can, put out.
I'd just like to say that please, किसी के बारे में बिना पूछे समझे किसी के बारे में अफवाहें ना फैलाएं और not to come down to conclusions on their own, because the truth is far from what a lot of people are just writing without consulting, without asking, without talking, and it's not fair.
But she claims, and even if we were to believe that she did not dodge the airport authorities as is being reported everywhere, fact of the matter is that Kanika Kapoor and many top bureaucrats and politicians for most of this month have not thought twice before attending social gatherings, before partying and attending grand events. And I will give you many examples over the next 1 hour, viewers, that goes on to prove that while many will stand there and make social media videos to preach to us, that many will stand there and give bites to preach to the people of their state. They don't bother themselves. Well, coronavirus, a pandemic, is kind of a leveler like that. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't depend on who you are. Everybody is equally vulnerable. And look what's happened now. We're looking at a situation where many MPs will have to go into quarantine and isolation because some of them were irresponsible. So that's the question tonight. Is India's elite, are India's elite, disregarding social distancing norms? Are they not taking it seriously? Let's say good evening to Mohan Raman. Actor joins us this evening. Mayank Shekhar, a film critic. Dr. Sanjeev Mehta and Shweta, Shalini, spokesperson for the BJP, also with us. Mayank, I want to start with you. And, you know, in the last 1 week, we've been literally bombarded with these videos that all celebrities are putting out on social media saying, don't go here and don't do that and don't take public transport, don't travel to work in a bus or a train. But it seems that many of them have continued with their own social events.
No, I totally agree. I mean, in this particular case, Kanika's case, I mean, sure, she was at a party and she can be wherever she wants to. I want to know who's throwing that party. Like, who is irresponsible enough or is not able to understand what's going on in the world right now. We have access to global news. We know that we are in stage 2 of the pandemic. We know what stage 3 is going to look like. We'll be in no position to control it if we reach that stage in the first place. We know how unique coronavirus is in the sense that it spreads, the disease spreads even before the onset of illness on the person who's hosting the virus. So you won't even know the symptoms. And then in a situation like that, for someone to show up in public places of this nature, to be partying right now with no idea what the world is going through. And I think if this person, in this case, Kanika's hidden her travel history, then that should really be a crime. It should be deemed a criminal. There should be criminal proceeding against someone who's not telling you where they've been traveling from. They should be quarantining themselves. Enough people lately who've come from London, also within show business, whether someone like a Sonam Kapoor or Irfan's son, they've self-quarantined because they've come from places like London, Europe, which is so badly hit. But this person, instead of quarantining herself, is actually attending parties, and then there are people who are throwing them. It's deeply callous, and I think it's going to hit us really bad if we don't take it too seriously in this stage.
Absolutely. And I'm just, wondering why it's so necessary. Why is that some of these people don't get the point? But then there are many, many examples where we've seen people have taken it callously. They have evaded airport authorities. They have tried to avoid the screening and testing. They've gotten out of their homes and, not followed the quarantine norms. Or they have simply complained about the state of the government hospitals, refused to go there, thereby putting at risk other people's lives. Now, Mr. Mohan Raman, do you agree that tonight it looks like a situation where the rich and the powerful and the elite are endangering us in this battle against coronavirus?
Good evening, and at the outset, let me request once again to all viewing, stay safe, keep clean, keep social distance. Even your camera is at least 6 to 8 feet away, and your camera person is another 2 feet away from there. The point is, it is not just the rich and the powerful and the elite. It is everybody. I would like to rephrase your program's title. It is not the rich and the powerful. Indians, as Indians, and not just Indians. You have people, tourists from UK and so many other places who landed in Kerala, tested positive and ran away. They ran away. So it is not just Indians. The world is panicking. So it's up to us to tell people not to panic. If you got this virus, it's no problem. Please go test yourself. Having tested yourself, go into isolation. Until you are cleared, stay. Don't infect your family. Don't infect your friends. And as far as this person is concerned, I would like Mirror now to do a little bit of fact checking. I don't know. Her statement says she landed on the 9th and nothing. Now, when did she feel the symptoms? When was the test done? Between 9th and attending the party, if she even felt a little cough or an irritation in the throat, as my other friend who just spoke said, enough is being talked about what's happened in Wuhan and Italy and Spain and London and New York. We all know. If I cough now, I'm certainly going to request that you please pack up and go. We all have common sense. So I would like to double check. And I do know for a fact that Kerala airports have been asking people to go into self-quarantine for quite some time. And I'm sure Bombay has also done it. Somebody must fact check and say that no, on the 9th, up to the 9th, or Bombay started doing this home stay business only after 14th or 15th.
Well, I'll
in which
tell
case
you.
This lady is right in the sense that she was ignorant.
So I'll tell you, yes, she was. She was, and that's no excuse. I will just give the information that you are seeking. The first advisory that came from the government, from the central government, asking all states, and all the state leaders then announced that, asking people to stay away from mass gatherings, was on 5th March. This lady got here on 9th March. She came from London, where it was already a big deal. It was a big deal in China and Italy months ago. She got here, she traveled to Lucknow, and she says that she attended this first party on 13th of March. The symptoms began to show only 4 days ago, which is precisely why you're supposed to be in quarantine for at least 2 weeks. Now, I am for a minute going to say, okay, you know what? Nobody told her at the airport, as she claims, that you should not venture out. So let's give the benefit of doubt to Kanika Kapoor to say she didn't know. Nobody told her. But everybody knew that you should be staying away from mass gatherings, from parties and social events. The Prime Minister himself had by then put out an appeal saying, let's not play Holi. Shweta, Shalini, the Prime Minister told us, and hundreds and thousands of people followed the advice of not playing Holi. But why is it that today we are looking at leaders from BJP and Congress and TMC, all of them going into quarantine because they seem to have socialized with her?
Okay, first and foremost, I think I need to start with, I remember this old shaयर who had said, बर्बाद गुलिस्ता करने को एक ही उल्लू काफ़ी था, यहाँ हर शाख पे उल्लू बैठे हैं, अंजाम गुलिस्ता क्या होगा? Ideally, let's talk about this lady first. She says, and I just heard what she was saying, she filled in forms. She went to a doctor at the airport because there was a separate line for COVID-19. The 0th patient in the world has been traced back in China to November. By the 4th of January, the NCDC, which is National Center for Disease Control in India, had already conducted a couple of meetings. The first advisory was framed by the end of February, was out by the first week of March. The Honorable Prime Minister had put in an appeal because 10th of March was Holi. So if we are saying, and if she is saying that I did not know, I don't know why and how she can call herself educated. Now let's go back to South Korea. South Korea, the maximum number of people who are young, between 20 to 29, have not shown a single symptom. At least now she has shown some symptoms. But they are very high because they carry the disease and they actually go and spread it to the elderly and to the young, and that is why the number of death rates had increased in South Korea. Now coming back to, I have said this earlier on your show and I want to repeat it, I think anybody, the only way to contain this disease is for each and every person to stay quarantined, considering that yes, I have it. And once I'm at home at a safe ground, then only I can break this chain. because this is a virus which can stay at surfaces. Now, even if somebody who's infected has gone to any big party, the surfaces will probably contain it for three long days. So let's not fool ourselves. I think anybody who attends a party or moves out of home is wrong. In fact, people who are trying to play ignorant should be, I think, charged under Homicide Act.
Okay.
And let's be very, very clear about this, because we are actually creating and keeping everyone else and the entire masses' life at risk.
Okay.
So yes, I completely agree. Anybody, everybody, whether it's a leader, nobody here. This is not a political
So
subject.
tell me this.
And I'm thankful that you don't have any political people on your panel. Yes, please.
No. I do have you, and I will also have another one in just a short while, because believe it or not, political class may believe that they are immune to this disease, but they may not be. MOS sitting ministers are in quarantine.
No, they are
Members
paying
of
for it.
parliament
Everybody
are in
who was in the
quarantine.
party is now self-quarantining.
So you began your
So
answer by 1
anybody
minute,
who's going to
please.
be out is going to be paying for it. Let's face it.
No. So I just have a follow-up question. You said, you began by quoting a Hindi proverb, and you said, "Har dal pe ullu hai." I will keep that aside, and I will not put you in a spot. But you used two other words, when you were talking about Kanika Kapoor, and that's educated and ignorant. Would you use these words for Vasundhara Raje and Dushyant Singh and Jitin Prasada's wife?
I have
And many of
categorically
those
said-
ministers, their daughters-in-laws
said that
who were at that
anybody
party,
who's playing
Ritu Singh,
ignorant,
Karan Singh's daughter-in-law.
anybody who's playing ignorant.
So that's yes. So you will agree that these leaders are equally to be blamed.
Any party,
The UP
leaders
health
of any
minister
party, bureaucrats,
is in quarantine
elite
today.
Celebrities, anybody, nobody has the right to put anyone else's life in danger. I know of a lot of people who have not shown a single symptom, but because they have come back from places which have been earmarked, have quarantined themselves for 15 long days, and even after that have gone with a simple sore throat, have gone tested negative and then come back. Nobody, we have to consider, we follow Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, everyone is family right now. Anybody.
So, no. Shweta, Shalini, I don't want these lectures. These words sound really good when you sit in a TV studio debate and say it. But I can bet you right now that even if there is action, it will only be against Kanika Kapoor, not against any bureaucrat, any MP or minister who was at that party, who socialized with this singer in those 10 days. It won't happen. You know it and I know it. So please don't sit here and make these tall claims and preach us when you know who's going to get away. I'll give you another example. What happened in Bengal? The first case in Bengal, if our viewers don't know this, the first positive case in West Bengal actually took place because an 18-year-old student returned from United Kingdom on 14th March, and he tested positive. And he roamed around for 2 days after he got back. And his parents are actually government officials. His mother, a government official, continued with her official duties. A West Bengal civil service officer, an IAS officer, continued with her services. This youngster refused to go and get himself tested. That's how lives are being put at risk. And today, West Bengal too is in the list of states that has coronavirus. Sanjay Jha, what is it? Do the elite of this country believe that they are above this pandemic?
Tanvi, I'm glad you're raising this very pertinent issue. And, frankly, the Kanika Kapoor issue is a manifestation of two things. Number one, that just because you have returned from abroad and you may not have a temperature, it does not mean that you can't contact it later from somebody at home, or that the symptoms that you may have probably, kind of actually garnered earlier have not manifested at the time that you crossed immigration. Clearly one thing is obvious, Tanvi, that, instead of indulging in a blame game, I think one thing that we all need to recognize is this is a monstrous new beast, and I think the world is still coming to terms with it. I definitely feel the political system needs to walk the talk. Now, yesterday, I thought Prime Minister Modi made a very rightful point, which was that we should maintain social distancing because India is currently very susceptible to a massive explosion or a conflagration of this deadly virus. But the political parties have to walk the talk. This has been talked about for a long time. Internally, we debated, why is Parliament on? Because, politicians are very public figures. You meet people all the time. Everyone wants to meet you. And therefore, you are even more vulnerable than the others. And then you're sitting in that August Hall of Parliament in very close proximity to each other. And which is why today you're finding that suddenly we guys in the political space are looking like individuals who have compromised the very stuff that we talked about yesterday or the day before. I mean, end of day, we have to walk the talk. We have to set an example. And there are examples of politicians which have been affected. So there was a message loud and clear. But clearly, this has been a casual way of handling it. And ultimately, as I say, I don't want to blame any individual here, but everyone has to be doubly alert and extremely careful.
No, you say it's not. Let's not. Yes, Sanjay Jha, you say let's not get into a blame game, but I'm saying that let's show some responsibility and take responsibility for our actions. And I think those who didn't think twice this month before going to large gatherings and partying failed us in doing their part, and then went on to travel further and socialize or go for work events further. And look what's happened. Mr. Dushyanth Singh, who's quarantined himself now, attended the parliament. He met political leaders and members of parliament cutting across party lines. He went for an event at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. At the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Now, if he wanted to be cautious, perhaps he should not have been in that party. That's the whole point. Mr. Sanjeev Mehta, Dr. Sanjeev Mehta, good evening to you. This is a great leveler, isn't it? The disease, it doesn't discriminate between who you are and where you come from. Perhaps something that many now in the world don't realize.
Yeah. First of all, good evening, and thank you for inviting me on this show. And thank you for making this, taking up this topic. It is extremely important. I'm going to go a little further when you say about a great leveler. Yes, if there is a person in the room who has the COVID-19, it's going to spread. What I want to say here is that while it is a great leveler, I'm afraid that the people of the lower, who are less affording are at greater risk for two reasons. Immune status is not great, and their access to medical care is very poor. So while anybody can get the infection, I'm very worried, yet we don't have all the information, but I'm very concerned that people who have less access to resources are going to be at a far greater risk for morbidity and mortality, put in other words, for adverse outcomes. And I really would like to make a point through this program, as has been said by you and by other speakers, that, a lot of people are not taking this seriously. The rich particularly and the powerful are not taking it seriously, as is quite obvious from this whole episode. And they are going to be placing a lot of people at risk in the incubation period. Now, the incubation period means, and just in simple terms, from the time that a person got the virus to the time that the person develops the symptoms, that means cough, cold, it's about anywhere between 4 to 14 days, which means that for 4 to 14 days, you could be passing that infection. That is a huge time when you are out there meeting everybody, and that social distancing is so important, but this is a time when the hidden spread can go. I want to bring another point to everybody's attention, and that is just recent data. This is just 2 days ago. I was reading out of China that you may even be spreading the virus after those symptoms have subsided. So just because the symptoms have gone does not necessarily mean that that individual is not exposing other people to that virus. So please keep that in mind, that even when you become well, you may be yet spreading that disease. So I think a couple of points. Clearly, everybody's at risk. clearly the rich and powerful have to pass a message. Listen, if the chief of a company or an organization is putting himself in self-quarantine, that would send a very powerful message, and especially politicians, that this is what you need to do. And then, of course, this thing about asymptomatic spread, and that it can start early and continue late. These are very serious messages for the country, and people need to take this far more seriously than they are right now.
Yes,
we as doctors ask everybody about travel history, about contact history, so
yes,
they
absolutely.
need to do that too.
I just want to point this out. Today, by the way, we've registered the highest number of cases in a single day. 50 cases were added. We don't know what is out there. People need to start taking this seriously. Everybody needs to start taking this seriously. There was a case that in Maharashtra, where this group of people landed here from Germany, and they were told to home quarantine themselves for 2 weeks. They were given the stamp for a reason, and rightly so, because they decided to violate that advisory. And they boarded a train from Mumbai to Delhi. They boarded the Garib Rath train because they thought they will avoid the airport. Let's take the train. They were spotted and deboarded. But imagine the number of lives they would have put at risk by traveling in that train and then going to Delhi and roaming around. That's the problem. Mr. Mohan Raman has been trying to make a point. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. The first is that anyone violating this is culpable, can be charged with negligence amounting to homicide. Legally, just as, for instance, in the Kamal Hassan shooting, the manager who didn't take care of the crane and the crane fell and sadly people died, just as that man is being charged, or just as anybody who is driving under the influence of alcohol. This is as bad as drunken driving. In fact, this is far worse, because drunken driving, you probably hit one family and be done with it. Here, you take this case of the MPs, take Derek O'Brien. I hope to God and pray to God that nothing is wrong with him, but he traveled back from Delhi to Calcutta. What about the 150 people or so in the flight? What about this MP who went from Indore to Delhi by flight? Again, 150 plus. And what about all of them coming back to their respective places? In this one irresponsible act, I don't know, including the Rashtrapati to the rickshawala next door may be affected. Let us all realize this. As you very rightly said, there's no point in just pontificating or putting in, videos in social media to say, I am at home, I am at home. Many of us have been at home. The Rotary Club of Madras, of which I am a member, we cancelled our meetings and we had an e-meeting. All of us went on to that computer and we chatted. Nothing wrong. This is simple. We must do it. Yes, today, what about all the politicians gathering of various hues and colors in Madhya Pradesh and protesting and chanting and celebrating?
Yes,
how is
absolutely.
Are they exempt?
Absolutely.
Or have they been told, no, Corona won't come to you?
Absolutely. In fact, we just had visuals that had come in.
This is ridiculous. And we must, as a society...
From the BJP office, I believe it was. So, irrespective of what Shalini Singh keeps saying repeatedly, and not the first day today, if you had her for a few days ago also, when we were questioning the Karnataka Chief Minister's movements and how he went and attended a wedding with 2,000 people, setting the wrong example. Today, these are the shots. An entire conference hall or auditorium.
That way, even Mr. Digvijay Singh went and sat amongst a lot of people outside the hotel.
Yes, he did.
Not that anyone is
Kamalnath
exempt.
did.
Digvijay Singh and
Shivraj Singh
the
Chouhan
others sat
on the podium there.
And
everybody...
Karnataka is one of the worst hit states.
Yes, absolutely. No, not just Digvijay Singh. Congress leaders in Karnataka. Look at this. Look at the kind of celebration that was taking place today. In Madhya Pradesh.
So my point is,
this is shameful. I'm sorry. Whatever your celebration is, sit at your own home and do this. What is going on? Why are leaders not understanding? First of all, Madhya Pradesh, everybody has been busy grabbing power in the last 2 weeks. And now, look at these visuals. Is this how we follow social distancing? In the city of Mumbai, people have been put in a shutdown mode. Private offices have shut down. People are going to be losing business. But everybody is doing it without complaining, because this is what you need to do. Mr. Shivraj Singh Chouhan, Shweta, Shalini doesn't seem to understand that, does it? Does he?
That is why I said. No, it is.
So just to
sorry
answer
to
this,
interrupt,
today was a floor test. So let's not talk about Madhya Pradesh. The Supreme Court ruling said that they had to do the floor test. So yes, they were together, and yes, I completely disagree that there was no need of a celebration. But when so many people were together, it was a it was
Why
a
were
big
so many people
day
together?
for all of them. I still feel that yes, one person would have stood up and said that let's not do this, and that's why I think a lot of celebration was not done. But I still feel that it is wrong. We take full responsibility. Unfortunately, what happens is public faces, especially people, politicians, they meet so many people. The expectations of the people is that they are available. They come out. They are available for solving problems, because the problems remain the same. So unfortunately, I agree there needs to be an understanding from both the ends. And I started by saying that let's not politicize this. This is not a political thing. All of us need to understand, and that is the reason why I think, and you picked up the earlier point, I agree that it is everyone's responsibility, and that is why when the Prime Minister came and spoke to the nation, he said that it is on all of us to break the chain, and that is why he has appealed to each and every one to be responsible for his own self and for everyone around them. So I completely agree.
Prime Minister needs to crack the whip on his own team members. He needs to crack the whip on some former chief ministers, some again hoping to be chief ministers, and then we will talk about this. But the rest of the country seems to be following it. But the ministers and the MPs and the netas are not. Now, that's one part of it. Mayank, from your own experience, from what you've seen, and I'm not going to ask you to name people, but have you seen a lot more responsibility even coming from the entertainment world? Or is it just for show on social media to be, to just put out a video and look cool about it?
No, I think by and large, at least in Mumbai, I can speak for the city where I live, people have been a little more, responsive to a particular need, which is only for our own good. And having said all that we did about Kanika, the fact is that she's suffering right now. She's tested positive, but she's young. And the thing about this virus is that if it afflicts the old is when the real problem occurs. And she was around a lot of people who happen to be politicians who are much older than her, and the response to a virus like this is going to be very different. But at the same time, what you cannot forget is ignorance of this kind has huge, huge costs. One is the economic cost. The only way to contain the spread is actually seeing the movement of the index patient across. So there needs to be a whole surveillance team looking at every single movement of this particular patient that happens to be Kanika, and a lot of other people too. Then there's a shutdown, which is also an economic cost. But I think the bigger cost, of course, is if we're going to continue to move, if we're going to continue to travel. And I'm noticing that in Bombay, a lot of people are going to their hometowns. You're also making places that were until this point isolated, also exposing them to the risk of that virus. And if this actually enters hinterland of India, if it reaches rural parts of India, I mean, really, God save this country, because the infrastructure there is like unheard of in terms of it doesn't exist. Forget about how many ventilators and how many hospital beds. So I think we're in a situation where, I mean, we don't have a choice but to sort of keep that social distancing going. And by and large, I think Bombay has been rather fine. But you find these few cases, it's important to highlight them.
Yes.
It's important to make people know that what these people are doing is duly dangerous to the world we live in at this point.
Yes, and I want to highlight this. According to media reports, Kanika Kapoor actually attended a birthday party, which she did confirm to us on the phone line, of Congress leader Jitin Prasad's son. And this was actually hosted by another BSP leader. And in attendance were BJP leaders. So Sanjay Jha, it looks like the entire political class completely seems to be missing the point. And Lucknow, by the way,
Well,
today is in a shutdown mode as well.
yeah, I was just watching on your channel that the Taj Lucknow is shutting down.
Yes,
Now,
because she
clearly
went there. She visited that place and now they have to shut it down.
Yeah, Tanvi, I want to make one point here. Today your sister newspaper publication Mirror Now has actually come out with an absolutely damning front page report that I think all of us should take cognizance of. This is the number of people standing in a queue, all of them believing that they need a coronavirus test because they believe they may have got an infection. And they're all standing in a long serpentine queue outside the Kasturba Hospital. Now, this, in my opinion, is an exhibition of the seriousness of the problem that we have and how appalling is our medical health infrastructure that you are having people who all believe they may have a coronavirus standing in a line where each one of them can actually infect the other. So look at the situation today that even those people who are voluntarily subjecting themselves to the proper scrutiny as responsible citizens have to stand in a queue next to each other in close proximity to get themselves tested, which makes them actually even more vulnerable, even if they're actually even if they're free of an infection. Now, this is what I call as myopic planning. And one of the questions that we all need to ask today, even as we discuss the Kanika Kapoor's, this is a very tragic fallout. I hope nobody else gets affected, and I hope she recovers as well. Are we utilizing the private sector that we need to really get into play? Are there more hospitals that are really spreading themselves out? Shouldn't testing be made so easy that people can go and walk in anywhere and get themselves tested at the first instance? There are serious problems. And I think the big worry is that unlike the Western world, I mean, Italy or America or the UK, for example, have a wonderfully strong public health infrastructure model. We don't have it. And we are not even utilizing the ones that we have that probably will be able to deliver. So right now, there is a need for more testing, more centers, more easy access, and we don't have it. So whether this problem actually explodes from here or accelerates from here, frankly, we are living on a tinder box. And this is a big worry, honestly.
Yes, it is a very, very big worry, which is why everybody needs to do their own bit.
Yeah.
Mr. Mohan Raman
Shall I
wants
come
to
in?
make a point, and then Dr. Mehta.
Yeah, I'd just like to quote an example of a minister from Tamil Nadu, the Minister for Education, one Mr. Sengottayan. He has put up a big poster outside his house saying that I am not meeting any visitors. Please don't gather in groups outside my house. Anything you have, please send it by writing. No personal contact until the 31st of March or until the corona episode is over. I thought that's a very responsible, very nice thing because like you've been saying, if people gather together, whether it's for a test or not, why they stood in queue, I don't know, because the government has very clearly said, if you have got symptoms and you need a test, do not come to the hospital. So they have made their announcement very clear. And this is what's happening in US and in UK. London and New York are crying for more masks, more test kits. Every day, Mr. Donald Trump is being shot at by the press saying, what happened to the test kits? You said lakhs are coming, millions are coming, nothing has come. There is a worldwide shortage of test kits. There is a worldwide shortage of masks. And we need to give it to our healthcare providers first. Masks for them. Because they are dealing with hundreds of people with infection. If we can't get a mask, then let's stay inside a room. I think we should act a little more responsibly, and this is not a time. This is not a time. It's the time for being bipartisan. Both the Congress and the BJP and the Communist and the BSP and everybody else should forget what political color they come from and come together as a nation to fight this scourge. I mean, let's forget the fact I'm from Tamil Nadu. You have somebody, Sanjay is sitting in Delhi, somebody else is sitting in Bombay. This is not the point. It's going to hit the whole of India. You have seen today as the highest day, and we are at the lowest end of the curve.
Absolutely. No, Mr. Mohan Raman, I'll tell you one more thing.
Cases. I do not know where it's going to shoot
I know
up
you're
to.
giving us the example of the education minister in Tamil Nadu. I can give you the example of the health minister. Oddly, it's the health minister of various states who've been letting us down repeatedly. Now the health minister of UP is in quarantine. Tamil Nadu health minister Vijay Bhaskar attended an event on coronavirus where there were 250 people in one room. And when we asked him about it, he said, well, no, I appreciate the fact that there were supposed to be 350 more people, but they all didn't come. So that was his response. Now, that's what's happening. A constant update still coming on. The impact of every single update that's happening right now will be on the common man. And I think every single person, common or elite, needs to do their part. Something that few people just don't understand in this country. Kanika Kapoor landed on March 9th. In Mumbai from London. She spent a day here. On March 11th, she then travelled to Lucknow. Between 13th and 15th, she attended 3 different parties, perhaps exposed herself to 300 people, the infection that she was carrying, to 300 people. All of those people will have to be now tracked down and in quarantine. That's not all. Those 300 people by now, in the last one week, 10 days, have met more people. Case in point is just Dushyant Singh, Vasundhara Raje's son, who was at that party. He then went and attended parliament. He had lunches in the parliament with other political leaders. He went attended a breakfast event at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Now, all of those people will have to be in quarantine and will have to be tested. Just imagine what's going on, what could happen. Dr. Mehta wanted to make a point, but before that, very quickly, if I can go across to a viewer who's on the phone line, Mrs. Oberoi, she's calling us from Delhi. Good evening. Go ahead, please.
Good evening.
Mrs. Oberoi, go on, please. And if you can just mute the television, you will be able to hear us better, and we can also hear you better.
Good evening. Good evening. Once again, we are very sadly talking about the same old thing. See, the point is, I'm still waiting for some action to be taken against Mr. Yediyurappa. Of all the people, I mean, there were many others.
Yes.
He being the chief minister of a state. And the other day also, Mrs. Shweta Shalini, in a very cute way, was saying, yes, it's not done, it's not right. Today she's saying we shouldn't politicize. And on top of that, he said, Mr. Kapoor is educated but ignorant. I'm sure Mr. Dushyant, Vasundhara Raje Singhia's son is not ignorant. He very much understands a responsible leader. So my simple submission is, if Kanika Kapoor is going to be charged, please charge each one of these people who were there in that party, especially those who are in responsible positions in society, in polity.
Yes.
Everybody knows, everybody's talking, going gaga over what the Prime Minister said.
Yes.
And his own party. I'm not saying others are not culpable, but people from BJP think they are above the law.
Yes, absolutely. Mrs. Oberoi, thank you so much for calling. And I think what you are saying reflects the sentiment of many of those, in our country and watching this show right now. Dr. Mehta, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. While I completely agree with the sentiments expressed by everybody, but I want to particularly highlight a point that has not been brought out in most of the TV debates, and that's the one that Mr. Jha just brought out, and that is that we are woefully ill-equipped to deal with the number of patients that we have. As he rightly said, there's only one testing center. That is okay. What worries me is if you have suddenly 50 patients who are sick. I am at this moment not aware of even a city like Mumbai with so many hospitals that we could handle 50 ventilated patients in the present Kasturba hospital setup. I think we need to completely and take this on a war footing tonight. I know there are steps being done to engage private hospitals, but I think that's very, very far behind. This is a clarion call, need to wake up, as early as tomorrow, we should be able to have something like 500 beds with ventilators available in case this blows up. It's good to do social distancing and prevent the spread. But really, I for one am not aware of the war-footing efforts to start being ready to treat patients if they hit us. And I'm sure they will, because now that you said the maximum number of patients came today, diagnosed cases. Well, if they're diagnosed, they're going to find some of them, even if it's only 1%, the numbers are going to be huge.
Yes.
And the healthcare system, I think, is just my opinion, isn't fully ready for it. And if it hits, it's going to be a tsunami.
Yes.
I want to take this opportunity through your channel to get everybody geared to be able to take these patients.
Yes, yes, you're very right. And Dr. Mehta, every single day we are highlighting this. We're doing multiple conversations, multiple shows every day just to highlight the importance of social distancing, of self-quarantine and isolation, and why we need to do this right now before this explodes and spirals out of control. And I think, you know, the rich and the powerful, the top babus and the leaders and the ministers of our country need to start watching a lot more news so that they are a little bit more aware of what's happening in our country. I mean, it's shocking to know that the Tamil Nadu health minister actually went ahead and held a public event with 250 people sitting right there next to each other. It's shocking that the Uttar Pradesh health minister, Jai Pratap Singh, attended this party, which is why he's in quarantine today. Now, if this is how our health ministers are going to deal with the situation, I can't even begin to imagine what ideas they have to tackle this situation in their own states. Lucknow is one of those cities which is in a shutdown mode, just like the national capital and Mumbai, where shops have been shut. People have been asked to not step out. In Mumbai and Delhi, people have been, those working in the private sector have been told to work from home, not get out at all. Now the country is ready to do this. We're all going to be observing the Janta curfew on Sunday. What are the elites doing? When will they realize their responsibility in this war against coronavirus? Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation.